No, you don't need. You don't need the.
I'm doing this my way. He a legend. 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 He a legend.
Talking on it though, then
He
you
a
can't work it up
legend.
later.
Welcome to the league. 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 Welcome to the league. To the league. To the league. To the league. To the league of Ida.
What's up, everybody? It's Pikel with League of Items, and in this video, we are going to go over this weekend's games for the LPL. The LPL is finally back. I posted a video the other day about the LPL teams and the most important players on those teams, so if you want to know those thoughts, go back and watch that video. I will also be posting videos about the LPL, LCK, LEC, LCS in that fashion. I already put out the LEC video. I need some more roster information about the LCK and the LCS. Some interesting stuff going on, some surprising stuff going on. But for this video, we're going to focus on the next 3 or 4 days, depending on how long the video is going. So mostly just week 1 is what my goal is, but I might do the next set of games as well. I'm going to be talking about the betting implications of these games primarily. So first up, we have Invictus Gaming against Weibo Gaming. Weibo Gaming is a huge favorite. They're at -500, so almost everyone's going to be on the Weibo Gaming side. This is not the matchup where I would try to get cute. We're most likely going to have Zika, Shun, Yukai, Wink, and I think Shin Lu. I'm not sure if that's how you say that, but I think I saw that on Twitter before. I'm definitely going to be on Weibo Gaming. The thing that I'm watching the closest in the beginning of the season is which champions are being played, because this will be on the new durability patch, I believe, and that's going to have a big impact on the not only the champions that are able to be played, but the strength of the different players on these teams, because teams that have players who are flexible and have large champion pools, can play multiple styles, are the most likely to adapt well to a new patch. But once you kind of figure out what the most popular champions are because they're strong, those are the ones that are going to form a lot of the drafts, put a lot of restrictions on the bans that you're allowed to do, because if you leave open too many overpowered champions, then the game is going to be kind of decided even more likely in draft. So in that matchup, I'm definitely on Weibo Gaming. I think that Huanfeng and An specifically are just too good in the bot lane to lose to Wink, and Shinlu I think is playing. But really in every role, I prefer the player from Weibo Gaming. Shun is a good player, and stylistically, there are a lot of matchups that can be created in the draft that they will have an advantage over SFM, but that's not enough in my opinion. I'd prefer to play the Weibo Gaming side, and I would probably take a look at the -1.5 at -25, because at least you're getting it at -125 instead of -500. Then the next matchup, we have FPX against EDG. And, EDG won the World Championship last year. They had an okay split last season, but not a great split by their standard. And I think that it really depends on how the meta shakes out. I don't feel confident that EDG is going to make it back to Worlds. There are a lot of talented teams, and in order for EDG to be super strong in this upcoming split, I think that the best case scenario is the durability patch, making it more about front to back team fighting. That would allow Viper to be the focal point of the team and would kind of reduce variance. If that's the case, that could be good for EDG. I don't think it's going to play out like that, though. I know it's kind of what it seems like at first, but in these scenarios, it's going to turn into which teams can play the hardest carry champions that are not 80 carries. Like, what other champions are out there that can scale even harder than the 80 carry? So maybe we see something like Kale if teams are sloppy. It's tough to play around, but it's possible. Or something like Kassadin. Maybe Kassadin makes a comeback. In this matchup, let's just go, I guess, lane by lane. Flandre and Xiaolahu. I think it's a pretty close matchup. Flandre definitely has shown us more throughout his career, has been known as a very good player for a long time. Xiaolahu, when they were filling in last summer, they actually did a really good job, and I think that they're a good enough player. FPX had a really good beginning of the last split, but they kind of fell off, which was somewhat expected. Gory left to go to PSG. So they have Care. I think that Care is going to be fine filling in for Gory. I do like Gory as a player, but I think Care is a young up-and-coming talent, and FPX obviously has a lot of faith in him. Having Clid for the full split is going to be helpful. I think that what they want to do is have Clid be the steady presence in the team, make sure that the team is staying on timers for objectives and is able to, offer ganks to lanes, but isn't going to be unnecessarily aggressive. I think the last time that we saw Clid consistently was when they were playing a lot of Volibear and it wasn't working out, and that ended up looking like a big limitation of Clid, but I think it's more of a team issue. So hopefully this durability patch is good for somebody like Clid. And then we have LWX and Hong in the bot lane. I think that FPX has a really good shot to win this match because the meta is not determined yet. And I don't look at the meta a lot. I don't look at the meta the same way that most people do. I think of the meta as the way that meta I think is supposed to be kind of interpreted, which is the most optimal way to play the game. That's kind of what I mean when I'm talking about the meta. The meta, in like the common language that we use it, is more like what champions are popular. So since there's nothing that's really decided as the strongest champions, the best champions, that might happen in like scrim pockets. Like maybe there is an opinion out there, but one of these teams is going to have a really good strategy, and I think that it can definitely be a team like FPX because they have strong, flexible players. Shallow, who is able to carry, and I'm sure he's able to play tanks. Clid, a good utility player, really more of a utility player than a carry at this point. Care, good both ways. LWX, more of a utility player, so this could be a big help for him because I do think that utility AD carries are pretty strong right now. So long term, I definitely prefer EDG. I think that EDG is the better team, but for this matchup specifically, I would want FPX plus 1.5, and I would consider betting FPX at plus 350. Because I think the talent is closer between these two teams than we remember. FPX kind of had a down split last split because Doinb's gone, and that kind of happens. Not trying to take anything away from EDG and Scout and Viper and Mako, who are all great players, but I think that Jai kind of overperformed last year, and this is more about where they belong, the level that they're at, which is still a very good level in the LPL, but not dominant in my opinion. So those are the first two matches for tomorrow. I like Weibo Gaming, and I'm playing the FPX side on DraftKings, and would consider betting them at plus 1.5. Next up, we have Anyone's Legends and Rare Atom. So that line is minus 188 for Rare Atom. I know that there are a lot of people out there who like Anyone's Legends, and I felt like I always had them wrong last split, so I don't necessarily want to like chase my tail. ZDZ against Cube. I think that Cube is probably slightly better. Xiaohao against Leon. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if I really remember many games that Xiaohao has played. Forge and Harder. I'm not sure who's starting this match. I would assume it's Forge. And then Betty and Chow Chow. Cube, Leon, Strive, iBoy, Zora. I would assume it's probably going to be iBoy and Yuyanja. I would assume that Rare Atom is better than Anyone's Legends in general from a talent perspective. It's definitely possible that Anyone's Legends kind of continues their form from last split. But again, I don't have the best opinion of Anyone's Legend, and people who watched my previous video know that I'm also not a huge fan of Rare Atom, so this is kind of a tough spot for me. But in that situation, I'm probably just going to advise, sticking with Rare Atom. And this is also the spot where, like, I'm not going to be making a video tomorrow for these games. I'm going to a bachelor party in AC. But I might have a different opinion, and I'll share that opinion in Discord. If you want to join the Discord community, you got to sign up for Patreon. The link is in the description. It's $10 a month. But the first day of games is going to tell us a lot about what teams think is strong. And it'll tell us, like, which champions are... like the types of champions that are going to be viable, and that might change my opinion on a matchup like this, but in general, I like Rare Atom. I don't think that the market's like far off or anything like that. Then the best match so far is going to be JDG against Top Esports, so let's get that on the screen. So 369 against Wayward. I probably prefer 369 still. I know that he's a very volatile player. That kind of stuff doesn't bother me. Kanavi's better than Tian at this point in his career. Yagao against Knight. Yagao and Knight have had a lot of good matchups last year, or actually the 2020 year. JDG and Top Esports were going back and forth like every split, every competition in China was either Top Esports or JDG winning, and they would always be in the finals. And Yagao and Knight had a lot of good matchups. Everybody thought that Knight was better, and I agree that Knight is the better player in that situation. But Yagao has a really good champion pool that is kind of not your run-of-the-mill champions. He was extremely good at Zoe during like Zoe's prominence, so that kind of curveball helps out a lot. The best thing for JDG would be for Yagao to play the more supportive type champions where you're going to side lanes and trying to help out. Things like TF, Galio. Like, I don't like TF in general, but for a team like JDG, it might actually be a good play style. Hope and Missing are good enough to compete with Jackie Love and Mark in the bot lane. So I probably prefer JDG as the underdog here. You're not getting a ton of value. It's only plus 110. But I like JDG in this spot, assuming that it's going to be like a wide open champion pool of like champions that are available to be played on this patch, and not tank your draft completely. The most important matchup I think is going to be Kanavi against Tian. When a lot of the drafts are undecided, I think that having a jungler specifically that you're not necessarily blind picking for all the time is going to be even more impactful. We'll get into that more in future videos. But basically, I guess the theory is, in the Jinx and Aphelios meta, you knew that something was going to happen in the draft in regards to Jinx and Aphelios. Either one of them was going to get banned, or you do the trade between those two 80 carries, or one of the teams locks in Aphelios or Jinx, and then they decide to play something like Xayah to counter it, which didn't really work out very often. But in that scenario, like, this is the tight champion pool of 80 carries that are viable. I need to pick a champion that can deal with those champions in some kind of realistic way, or like low variance way. So that's JDG and Top Esports. Again, I prefer the JDG side there. I like that they're the underdog. And that's basically it. Next up, we have Ultra Prime and OMG, and this is a really cool matchup. I'm not sure if Zoom is starting. I'm not sure if they got rid of ZS or what they're going to do with that. But these are two teams that I want to be high on. So this is a very important match to watch, where you want to see Cream playing well, specifically for OMG, pulling out unique champions to carry the game specifically. We want him playing as many carry champions as possible. But also with Ultra Prime, you want to see how potentially bringing in somebody like Zoom allows them to play even more through Elk in the later stages of the game, because you're really getting a much better weak side top laner, in theory, with Zoom. That might open up Hacker, that might allow Cryan to play like Galio, TF, and those kinds of champions, which is what he was good at when he was on RNG. So that could be a big benefit for Ultra Prime. I think that Ultra Prime is a more well-rounded team, and I think that at minus 138, it should probably be a wider spread than that. It should probably be closer to like minus 170, 180, something like that. So I think I'd be okay playing Ultra Prime there straight up. And again, if OMG loses this matchup, but it's a close match, that's going to be a good result for OMG, because a lot of people would think, oh, Ultra Prime's not that good. OMG couldn't even play, compete with Ultra Prime. They're going to be garbage. But then a couple days later, when they play some other team, we're going to have an opportunity to bet on them. And then the last game that we're going to talk about is LNG against Billy Gaming. Let's just do a quick lane by lane. Ale against Bin, Weiwei against Tarzan. So I prefer LNG in the jungle. I think that the top lane really isn't a huge difference, but I do prefer Bin. Duanbi is better than Fofo, but Fofo had a good split last year, or a good split last split. And then Light and Lumao against Doggo and Crisp. I prefer Doggo and Crisp. So this should be a good matchup. Minus 175. I think that's kind of too much. Doinby should be amazing on this patch, though. I'm not willing to bet against Tarzan and Doinby until I see, them not playing well. So I think, I don't like that minus 175 number, but that's the side I'm going to go with. So that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.